Hi Lane, alright, here is your reading. And I was getting lots of good hits while I was laying it down, so this is very interesting. And again, we're going to start with the area where you lived, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day, another important day, your death, and the lesson learned. And we'll get hits of time periods throughout, alright? So again, your job is to make connections where you can, and I will help you along the way. So I want to start. So here we have the island card, and I think you got this one before. So it's really interesting because I feel like it's putting me over on that area of the world again, except I want to say that we're looking at something very old and tribal, and I had the word of Madagascar come up, so keep that in mind. I feel like I'm like, right away, you're female in this life, these people are dark skinned, this is very tribal. There's a lot of like what they wear, it's very like tribal attire from what you see only in photos of National Geographic these days. I mean, like the leaves and the feathers and the basically tools of Mother Nature decorating their bodies. These are people with piercings, these are people with paint, tattoos. These are very Aboriginal people. And so what you did with the majority of your time here, this is the food card. And so people in this tribe, I feel like they worked together, but it was very female versus male. Not that the females were disrespected or lesser, but the females were the ones that were preparing the meals, and I feel like even the females were the ones who went out to find the meals as well. Or, for example, if the men were the one to go and hunt, like the larger animals, the females went to get the fish and the smaller animals that they can find, setting snares. And I feel like that's what you did for a lot of your time. A lot of your day was spent gathering food for the tribe, and you went with a group of people, and this was a very like community oriented, family oriented people. I don't see it's not a huge tribe, but it's not tiny. It's a good solid sized tribe, and there's such a fluidity about relationships here. I feel like this is a place where you're very comfortable, everyone feels good in their skin. Also, speaking of which, there's not a lot of cover. I'm seeing a lot of nude going on underneath the garb that they wear, which I think the females were just, full on nothing on top. This is just very tribal and very old, and I can't really get a date, but this is nothing modern. We're looking at like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. This is really interesting. So, I feel like you're surrounded by a jungle, so you find places within the forest. This is very forested, lots of green. This isn't like wide open savannas at all, because at first it almost felt like African, almost, based on what I was seeing people wearing and like the tribal atmosphere, but there is none of that natural kind of landscape here. This is a lot of forest. So let's go to the first important day. Now, we see a graduation, spouse, and this duality of feelings card, okay? So graduation, it doesn't always mean school or anything like that. It could be a graduation emotionally or some other kind of stepping up. And on this day, this is when you embrace your womanhood and you meet who you are intended to be in a union with. And I feel like this lifestyle and this living is very sexualized. People are not restricted, restrained, reserved about that. It's just very open and accepted here. And it's like, yes, it's to have children and procreate, but it's also, there's a pleasure to it. And as well, I feel like there's a ceremony going on to initiate you into womanhood, and unfortunately, there is a lot of pain involved. And I'm getting the impressions of how they have female genital mutilation in certain areas of the world still today. I feel like it's something akin to that. I don't know if it's that per se, but on this day there is an initiation. There is this is a ceremony I feel like you are not alone in this. I feel like you have a couple of other girls you've grown up with at the same age who you kind of all go through it together. It's quite common that this tribe, there's always going to be a few that go through this together. It's unusual when it's only just one. So this is also, there's a gathering, there's dancing around a fire, there is drum beats, there's sound being made, there's hoots and hollers. This is a huge celebration, and even though it is painful, you are also all right with taking or partaking in the traditions of these people because you really love these people. You really love every aspect of this life, even the painful parts. So you also get I don't think this is the day of the union, but you do find out who you are to be partnered with, and there is acceptance in it, even though this might be the first day where you're just like like you're questioning it, but you're not used to questioning anything, and the only reason you're questioning it is because even though you've been like, oh, maybe it'll be him, maybe it'll be him, maybe it'll be him, to finally learn who it is, that's a big deal. So there's these mixed feelings just about, it turned out to be him, isn't that interesting, kind of thing. So you're starting to settle into the feelings of knowing who your mate is going to be, as well as settle into the feelings of being a female and learning the ways of womanhood. So this is a really big day for women in your tribe. Very, very interesting. And they're showing this happening kind of at dusk. So like your initiation happened that day, and then at dusk, as the sun's going down, that's when the celebrations begin. All right, so let's go to this next important day. What we see here, we see a trauma, and we see family, and we see rolling right through, and that makes a lot of sense. The feelings I'm getting on this day is that there's something like you have children at this point. I want to say you have a lot of children at this point, maybe 3. Well, that's a lot to me anyway. And you have about 3 or more children. And I want to say that there is something that is taking out quite a few people. Like parts of a whole section of the tribe is kind of dying off because of a bacteria or something that was consumed or ingested, such as bad meat. So it's almost like there was bad meat that was spread around the tribe, and some stomachs could handle it, and a lot of stomachs could handle it. I'm not saying most of the tribe went, but there's a part of the tribe where their insides couldn't handle it, or the bacteria got into some of their insides, and not everybody. And so this is kind of a slow eating away kind of thing. And the medicine, I feel like this tribe dabbles still in medicine of Mother Nature, which, I mean, that can be very helpful, but it's also what's the word, like not witchcraft, but like magic medicine. Like they rely on magic and ritual, chant, ceremony to try to heal. And at this point, I mean, you need antibiotics here at this point, and so you see a lot of people die off here. So it's very traumatic, because I want to say at least 2 of your children also die, and that's a big deal because children are very special, because this tribe is not very large. So you see them as the continuance of the generations, and here you have 2 that are gone, and that's where your family comes in. And it's traumatic, and then this feeling of just rolling right along. The reason why this card pops up is because in this tribe, the kind of way that you're raised is to move right along. These people they don't dwell and cry and grieve how we're used to being told, oh, take all the time you need and just, grieve and be alone and cry. They don't do that. Maybe they give themselves a day or 2 to grieve, and then it's time to move right along, because they need to survive. They need to get food, they need to keep up their shelters, they need to protect their territory. So it's a kind of, the whole tribe is in a mode of whatever comes our way, let's just keep moving right along. And so that's how it has to be. I want to say it's like you and your partner try right away to get pregnant again. Quickly after that, almost while the death is occurring, you two are like this is a very sexual life. It's very interesting. So let's see what other instances. Every family, just to give you some details, every family has their own enclosure of a home. And I feel like this is made from natural products as well, but I don't feel like it's like a full wooden hut. I see like a lot of really large leaves, and I feel like these leaves are plastered together with a natural substance that would be kind of a natural glue. I feel like they use the trees a lot. So let's start making some connections here. Some connections are, let's start with that. It's drawn to trees. If you're drawn to trees or forests, that can stem from this life. They utilize them so much here. If you have anger towards the lumber industry, or when you hear about those pipelines going through the land and destroying it, if there's like a anger about that resonates with you, it can come from here, because nature and trees were very sacred and useful here. And also keep in mind, in this current life, if you have a high sex drive, there's that. Or if you actually have a very low sex drive, it is because it was such a high sex drive here and it was so open that your soul might have like gotten used to that experience here. So your soul in your current life, if it is a low sex drive, would be it would be because of this, and because it needs to experience something different. So just keep that in mind. And it might be neither at all. So just keep it in mind. As well, you might have a pull towards Aboriginal things, Aboriginal art, or traditions or history. If you see those tribes in photos of where the women have those large like rings through their ears or lips or something like that, you might find those fascinating for this reason. What else? Something about tradition. If you're someone that has or does really treasure traditions, almost holding them sacred, that can come from this as well, because this tribe was just one large tradition, that just one large tradition. I don't know how else to say it. A sense of community. If you, in this life, if you have this sense of community, where you're just looking for people that you vibe with, like you just want a group of people, or maybe you're someone that really was excited to maybe join a sorority or something like that. If you like the sorority life, or the idea of a community of people coming together and having each other's backs, it's because this life was all about that. In the same vein, you can be someone who likes to strike it out on your own and make your own way without the support of a large group, because you had it in this life. You see, so you can make connections either way. All right, let's see. Keep that in mind. You might be someone in this life too who knew you would be getting married. You were never like, maybe you were never like, oh, I don't know if I can see myself getting married or not. I think from a young age, if you were someone that was like, yes, one day I will get married, and that is that, it can stem from this as well, because there was no question here. All right, let's see. Okay, so let's go to the death. This is the disease card. And I want to say that this came either right after your kids passed, or it was another bout of diseased meat, of bacteria. I think that there was just a phase going through the land and the animals where the animals near you were just infected. They just had something about them, and you still had to eat, so it's not like you guys swore off whatever it was. So I feel like this was just another bout of bacteria. So keep in mind, if you have a weak stomach when it comes to certain foods, if you have food allergies or sensitivities, if your stomach gets just really knotted up at the thought of certain eating certain things that you can't explain, like let's just say all of a sudden, and this doesn't have to be your whole life, this can be around, this happened in your maybe 20s or so. Usually these things happen at the time of death in another life. So let's, for example, say that you died in this life at the age of 23. Then in your current life at the age of 23, all of a sudden you're like, ugh, I cannot fathom eating beef. I cannot fathom eating fish, whatever it was. it could be because of the connection here. That's what typically can happen. So just keep that in mind if you have any digestive issues, stomach issues, sensitivities, allergies to foods, of that kind of thing. Just keep in mind it can come from this, all right? So the lesson here is dream big. Dream big. And it's interesting because I feel like this lesson is actually talking to you now versus here, because you had no reason to dream big in this life. You were very satisfied. As I was laying the cards, there's just this sense of not just satisfaction, like not a relaxed satisfaction, but a engaged satisfaction in your life here, because I felt like you were very into being part of this tribe. You weren't someone who was like, oh, I wish I had a different life somewhere, I want to explore. That's not what this life was about. This life was so interactive with the life you were given. You were fully in it, and there was no question about it. And I feel like you didn't have to dream big, so to speak. You didn't have to have big dreams, because all of your dreams were easily fulfilled because this was the life you wanted. This was the life you signed up for, and you lived it as you wanted to. So this card, I feel like, speaks to you now, where you see that this life, it was very contained. You were in a tribe. You did everything you're supposed to. You went through certain pains and traditions, and you had your children. You did everything you're supposed to. So in this life, it's time to dream big. In this life, it's time to take the risks. In this life, it's time to step outside of the box of the norm. It's time to not care what the rest of your tribe, your people in this life, will think of you when you want to go after things. So I just feel like the big message here is go after something. If you have something on your mind lately that you want to try, taking classes or traveling or studying something unique, whatever it is, if you feel like you have knowledge that you want to teach that might be kind of different from what everyone would expect, go for it. This is the time to do it. So you can see you had a life where it was very more reserved about that. You didn't need to dream big. You didn't need to go for it. You see it now. So now in your current life, it's time to dream big and go and do what you need to do and do what you want to do. All right? So I hope you enjoyed this life. I really did. And thank you for letting me read you.